Killer tomatoes have been added to Space Station 14, and they're basically a mob that botany can grow that will assist anyone who has grown them. They will attack anyone on site that was not there when they were harvested, so it's primarily for antagonists. You actually can pick up the Killer tomatoes. They are 4x4 in your inventory, so very interesting. They could pick up a friendly mob and put it in your backpack, but the idea is these are kind of a horde-like monster, so you want a lot of them, so that feature is more minor than anything. It's good for transporting them, though. To get a killer tomato, you first must mutate tomato seeds into blood tomato seeds, and blood tomato seeds mutated have a chance of being killer tomato seeds. However, tomatoes do not always mutate into blood tomatoes. They can sometimes mutate into blue tomatoes, so this isn't super easy to be able to even get killer tomatoes. It takes some effort. Now, I'm going to explain two methods, and one method I think is better than the other method. The first method I'm going to explain is just growing a ton of tomatoes at once and then adding 5 units of mutagen to each one and hope that you get lucky and get killer tomatoes right off the bat. That is possible, but most likely you're going to get blood tomato seeds, which you're going to need for the other method anyway. So I guess both methods technically start with trying to mutate tomatoes. Anyway, you do not even need to go to cargo to get tomato seeds. Botany will always start with 5 of them. You will need to go to chem to get buckets of unstable mutagen, but botany is always expected to be getting that, so it's not even an odd request. The start of making killer tomatoes is super inconspicuous. Of course, for a short time after this video comes out, and for a short time even in the game now, people are already doing this. Tomatoes are super suspicious because it's brand new, so people use it for a while. Once the fad goes away, though, tomatoes are not really that weird to be grown. Anyways, I'm just going to plant all of these and add 5 units of mutagen to each one, and wait for the results. So I have now added 5 units of mutagen to every single one of these tomatoes. What we want to keep eye out for is blue ones, because they are completely useless to us. And we want to keep out for ones causing specific problems. Anyways, we just want blue ones gone, and anything that is dying gone. See, that one's making plasma, so we want that gone. We want the blue ones gone. We have not made any killer tomatoes. The killer tomatoes actually have it's like 1 sprout instead of 2, or 2 seedlings. But blood tomatoes do not have a unique sprite until they are fully grown, so you do have to shift-click examine each one of these until you get a blood tomato. And we managed to not get... Oh no, we got 1 blood tomato. That one needs to die. So out of the whole batch, we got 1 blood tomato, a bunch of unviable ones. That's just the way it goes with RNG. Out of this entire batch, we got screwed, and this just seems to be an average result. This is why you should have a backup of tomatoes to plant, because it's very likely that you'll just get very bad RNG. I mean, there's only even like 6 or 7 of them even living at this point. There's literally only 6 plants that even survived the mutagen. With the last living ones, you could just proceed to dump more mutagen on them. They're pretty much, they're useless to you as tomatoes anyway if your goal is to get killer tomatoes, but it's going to be pretty unlikely we actually get successful with more mutagen. It's just the odds just aren't there. Now we do have one that survived all the way, and I wouldn't really recommend doing this at this point. I would just restart, because, yeah, I mean, we got unlucky anyway. There was nowhere to continue. But when a plant's fully grown like that, and you've already dumped a 20-plus mutagen into it, the odds of it actually being viable after that is just very low. So, really, we're just going to repeat this process until we either get lucky with a killer tomato right away, but most likely we're just going to have having blood tomatoes. So now we have a full field of blood tomatoes. This is a much more realistic approach to this, is just farm blood tomatoes until you have enough to plant a full hydroponics field, because at this point the odds of at least getting a killer tomato that will be living is pretty high. This is what the killer tomato sprite looks like, so you really just want the 2 sprouts to turn into 1, and then you pray that you get at least a few, because this may not survive all the way, and we may end up having to go back to planting fresh killer tomato seeds. So it's basically just the first step repeated, but it's more likely you're going to at least get at least 1 living plant rather than starting from the beginning. So we have 2 killer tomatoes to look out for now. It doesn't seem like we're going to get any luckier than what we have at the moment. So again, at this point, you could decide to dump more unstable mutagen into the ones that did not mutate, or just plant fresh ones. Really up to you with how much time you're willing to spend. And every second that you end up having these in your hydroponics tray is a chance that somebody's going to rat you out, security's going to come. Doing this with other botanists is going to be really tough unless both of you are syndicates, or the other person is just genuinely clueless what's happening. This is more of a solo person's job, so on lower pop servers like Vulture and like Miros, probably going to be able to pull this off a little bit easier than like on Lizard or Leviathan. Odds are this one actually will make it to adulthood, and we will be able to make a killer tomato farm. Even with bad RNG of only one crop out of 18 being successful, that's all you need to be able to make a killer tomato army. Obviously, more efficient ones would have happened before this step, but it's just not always... You just can't realistically always make perfect genetic plants when it's a two-step process. Like, if we were just going from tomato to blood tomato and like this was the killer tomato, that would be pretty easy to stop, but or that'd be pretty easy to make perfect versions of, but that's just not how this is. The odds of this one actually surviving and be able to make more is pretty unlikely. This is brutal. By the way, you can have slippery mutations with the killer tomatoes, so that's rather dangerous. But as you can see, this doesn't have seeds, so if you run into this, you can try to just clip it. But the problem is, even if you can clip it, you only get one, so your harvestus is going to be pretty limited compared to the ones you can actually put the seeds in. So I'm just going to call that one dead. Just by the way, killer tomatoes have 24 HP, and they do 4 brute damage a hit. 4 brute is kind of brutal because it's a brute is 1/3 slash pierce and blunt, so that means 2/3 of it is things that make you bleed. And if you want a really good way of hiding these guys, turn the power off of your disposal unit and just put them in. That way, no one hears them moving around, and the one that was just a blood tomato that was slowly mutated over time from the first batch is fully viable, and we get seeds from it. So now we can easily make a full tomato army. You plant them, pick them up, throw them in the seed extractor until you have every single tray that you're wanting to fill up with them, and then at that point, you keep harvesting them and just throwing them into the disposals unit. You need to be careful, though, because if you have 100 in here and you eject them, you're not getting them back in, and at that point, all you could do is try to hope that you will kill them. Also, these guys will actually try to follow you, so you can lead them to wherever area you need to end up going to attack people, but once they see anyone who's not you, they'll start attacking immediately. And, God, imagine if you can make 100 of the ones that slip you and bite you. That would annihilate the station. Anyways, I want to thank you for watching. This isn't a perfect guide. Again, just a reference of how to actually make them. Making a perfect tomato army will require a decent bit of effort and a good bit of luck.